You think she's crying because she's hurt. No. Sometimes she cries because it works. Sometimes silence is louder than words, and guilt feels like love. The truth is, control doesn't always look like manipulation. It feels like connection. That's why it's so dangerous. Every time you give in, every time you chase peace, you're feeding the very system that drains your strength. Most men don't lose women. They lose themselves trying to keep them. But once you learn how these emotional traps are designed, you'll never fall for them again. Stay till the end, because I'm about to reveal the 5 darkest mind games women use, and the mindset that makes you immune. You've probably been there, giving everything just to stop the argument, saying sorry when you weren't wrong, hoping that maybe this time she'll see your effort and love you more. But she doesn't. Instead, she gets calmer, stronger, more certain that she can pull your strings anytime she wants. That's the hidden cost of keeping the peace. You lose respect every time you trade honesty for harmony. And I know you're tired of being the only one fighting for balance. If you're ready to understand what's really happening in these moments, like this video and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, have you ever realized you were apologizing just to avoid her silence? Because what you're about to hear will show you how emotional control really works and why most men never escape it. Let's begin. Number 1. The emotional blackmail game. She cries. You freeze. Suddenly, you're the villain. You don't even remember what you did wrong, but somehow you're the one apologizing again. This is how emotional blackmail begins. It's not about tears. It's about timing. She knows exactly when to look broken, when to tremble, when to say, "You don't care about me anymore." And right there, she turns your empathy into her weapon. You were raised to protect, to fix, to make things right. So when she's upset, your instinct kicks in. You comfort, you explain, you bend. But what if her sadness isn't pain? It's performance. Emotional blackmail is one of the oldest and most effective mind games. It's the art of using fear, guilt, and obligation to control behavior. She makes you fear losing her, feel guilty for her pain, and obligated to make her whole again. And when you do, she wins. You tell yourself, she's just sensitive, she's emotional. But deep down, you feel the pattern. Every conflict ends the same way. You compromise, she calms down, and you carry the blame. It's not love. It's control disguised as vulnerability. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Your brain is wired for empathy, the masculine protector instinct. When someone you care about appears in distress, your nervous system responds as if you caused it. It's called empathetic guilt. And in relationships, it can be weaponized. She doesn't have to raise her voice or threaten to leave. All she has to do is collapse emotionally, and you'll run to her rescue, even if she's the one who crossed your line. This creates a dangerous cycle. She learns that tears equal power. You learn that compliance equals peace. But here's the truth. The moment you try to save her, you lose yourself. Because you're not fixing her pain, you're feeding her control. You become her emotional caretaker, always on call, always responsible. She doesn't have to change, you do. And each time you give in, she reinforces the belief that she can dictate your behavior through emotional chaos. The first step to breaking this pattern is recognition. Ask yourself, are her emotions guiding me or governing me? When you start to feel that familiar pressure in your chest, that urge to make it right, pause, detach. You are not responsible for another adult's feelings. Compassion is noble. Obligation is control. The hardest part of emotional blackmail isn't spotting it. It's resisting the pull to fix it. But once you see the game, it loses its magic. Because true strength isn't in saving her. It's in refusing to be saved from your own boundaries. The moment you stop rescuing her, she either respects you or leaves. Either way, you win. Number 2, the silent treatment trap. She doesn't yell. She doesn't cry. She just disappears, emotionally, sometimes physically. The warmth you felt yesterday is gone today, replaced by a silence so heavy it feels like punishment. You text, no reply. You reach out, no response. You start replaying every word, every look, wondering, what did I do wrong? That's the trap. She doesn't need to attack you to control you. She just withdraws. The silent treatment isn't absence. It's a form of power. It's a calculated removal of affection that triggers panic in a man who values peace. You feel that unease growing in your chest, the need to fix things. You think if you just say the right words, if you just apologize first, she'll soften again. But what you don't see is that the silence itself is the manipulation. This game runs on intermittent reinforcement, the same psychological principle used in addiction. One moment, you get her affection. The next, she takes it away. Your brain learns to chase the reward, no matter how unpredictable it becomes. The more you chase, the more she controls the pace of the connection. She's teaching you something subtle. Your peace depends on her mood, and that's how power shifts. When you begin to fear her silence more than her anger, you've already surrendered. Most men fall into the same reaction pattern. They panic, over-explain, send long messages, try to restore the bond. But that only deepens the hook. You start negotiating for emotional crumbs, and she knows it. The more anxious you become, the calmer she grows. Because the silence is working. What she's really doing is creating emotional leverage. The absence of contact becomes a stage for your desperation. The more you chase, the more she confirms her control. And once you've been trained to equate silence with danger, she doesn't even need to play loudly anymore. Just one cold glance is enough to make you fold. So how do you break it? You mirror the stillness. You stop chasing. You let the silence sit. It's uncomfortable, yes, but that's the point. Growth always feels like withdrawal when you're detoxing from emotional dependency. When she goes quiet, don't fill the space. Don't explain. Don't beg. Don't apologize for things you didn't do. Instead, reclaim your calm, because silence only works when you fear it. If she truly values you, she'll come forward. If not, she'll drift away. And in that loss, you gain something far more valuable, your self-respect. Remember this, her silence isn't the absence of connection, it's the presence of control. And the only way to disarm it is to stop rewarding it. True strength doesn't chase peace, it creates it. Number 3, the moving goalpost pattern. You did everything right. You showed up, you listened, you made the effort, and somehow it's still not enough. That's not coincidence. That's choreography. This is the moving goalpost game, a pattern where her expectations rise each time you meet them. She says, I just want you to communicate more. You start calling every day. Then she says, you're too predictable now. You can't win because winning isn't the point. The point is to keep you running. This is control disguised as standards. The goalpost keeps moving, so you'll stay chasing. Every time you try to please her, she upgrades the terms. And the more you comply, the less she values it. Psychologically, this is what's known as a variable validation loop. It's the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Unpredictable rewards that keep you hooked. You never know when you'll get approval again, but you remember how good it felt last time. So you keep performing. And that's when the relationship stops being a partnership. It becomes a performance. You start working for her affection like it's a paycheck. You lose the ability to rest, to breathe, to feel secure. Because security is the one thing she can't give you, not without losing her control. Here's the truth most men miss. When a woman constantly changes her expectations, it's not because she's hard to please. It's because she needs to feel superior. Keeping you slightly uncertain keeps her emotionally dominant. It's psychological leverage. You can never relax enough to question her behavior. And here's where frustration becomes realization. You think you're proving your love, but you're actually proving your obedience. The more you give, the less she appreciates it, because she doesn't want consistency. She wants control. But let me tell you something that flips the script. Stability is not boring. Stability is power. When you stop trying to meet her shifting standards and instead stand by your own, she loses her leverage. You stop performing, you start leading. Ask yourself this: what does she really bring to your life beyond the drama of chasing her approval? If you're always being tested, that's not passion, that's manipulation. The antidote is simple but not easy. Stop playing the game. Stop negotiating your worth for her validation. When she raises the bar again, don't jump, walk away. Because when you stop trying to earn her approval, you'll start earning her respect. She might call you distant, cold, unemotional. Let her. Because that's the language of someone losing control. Remember this: the man who no longer chases becomes the standard. And the more you chase her approval, the less she respects you. Number 4. The victim illusion. It starts small. You point out something that bothers you. Maybe she was being distant. Maybe she crossed a line. And before you finish your sentence, her eyes fill with tears. Suddenly, the conversation isn't about what she did. It's about how you made her feel. Now she's trembling, saying, "You always make me feel like I'm not enough." You freeze. You feel guilty, defensive, maybe even cruel. She's hurt. Or at least she looks that way. And just like that, the focus shifts. From her actions to your apology. This is the victim illusion, one of the most disarming psychological tactics in emotional manipulation. It's not about weakness, it's about control. By appearing fragile, she makes you question your strength. By acting wounded, she makes you ashamed for setting boundaries. In psychology, this is known as role reversal. The manipulator becomes the victim becomes the villain. It's a tactic designed to disarm confrontation and regain dominance, without ever having to take responsibility. You think you're being compassionate by backing down, but what you're really doing is rewarding the performance. You're teaching her that guilt works. Every time she cries or says, "You're hurting me," after being confronted, she's reinforcing a pattern. Emotional collapse equals control. Let me make this clear. Real victims seek healing. Manipulative ones seek leverage. When pain becomes a weapon, truth becomes collateral damage. Here's how it plays out. She does something that crosses a boundary. Lies, gaslights, withdraws. You finally bring it up. She turns it into a tragedy, starring herself. You end up comforting her, apologizing, and feeling responsible for her emotions. By the time it's over, you've forgotten the original issue, and that's exactly the point. Over time, this creates a psychological prison. You stop expressing your needs because you're afraid of hurting her. You suppress your voice to protect her feelings, not realizing she's protecting her control. But emotional maturity isn't about who cries first. It's about who takes accountability. A woman who always plays the victim doesn't want resolution. She wants refuge from responsibility. So how do you break free from this illusion? You refuse to play the rescuer. You hold your ground when she turns tears into defense. You say calmly, "I understand you're upset, but this conversation isn't about feelings. It's about actions. Don't raise your voice. Don't justify your truth. Just hold the frame, because here's the truth. Once you stop reacting to emotional theatrics, they lose their power. She'll either learn to communicate or she'll leave to find another audience. Either way, you win your peace back. A real victim wants healing. A manipulative one wants control. And once you know the difference, you can never be played the same way again. Number 5. The insecurity trigger. It usually starts as a casual comment. She smiles and says, "You know, a lot of guys have been hitting on me lately." You laugh it off at first, but later that night, your mind replays it. The image of her being wanted, the thought of other men looking at what you thought was yours. And that's exactly what she wanted. This isn't about her being confident. It's about her controlling your confidence. By making you imagine competition, she plants a seed of insecurity that she'll water whenever she needs power. Psychologists call this competitive arousal. It's the emotional state that drives people to fight for validation, a rush of dopamine mixed with fear. When you feel like you're losing something valuable, your brain becomes obsessed with regaining control. You text her more, compliment her more. You do whatever it takes to prove your worth again. And suddenly, she's the prize, and you're the contestant. The more she hints at other men, the more you chase her attention. You think you're proving your love, but you're actually proving your insecurity, because what she's doing isn't accidental. It's design. This is one of the most seductive manipulations, turning your desire for her into dependence on her approval. She controls the game because she controls the narrative. Other men want me, and you, unknowingly, start to compete against ghosts. It's an illusion that hooks your ego. Every compliment you give, every reassurance you seek, feeds her sense of power. You become addicted to winning her back, even though she never truly left. That's how emotional scarcity works. She gives attention in fragments, and you chase the missing pieces. You start losing your composure, checking her phone, reacting to every name she mentions, fearing you're not enough. But here's the truth. Once she knows she can shake your confidence, she owns your focus. Don't fall for it. When she plays the insecurity card, don't compete. Detach. You don't have to prove anything. If she flirts for validation, that's not confidence. That's control in disguise. Stand firm in your value. A grounded man doesn't chase attention. He commands respect. When she realizes her provocations no longer move you, she'll either respect your strength or leave in search of weaker prey. Either outcome is victory. Remember this line and let it echo. When she makes you compete, she already owns you. But when you refuse to play, she loses the very power she built her game upon. Because the most magnetic thing a man can do is remain unshaken in a storm designed to make him tremble. You've seen the patterns now. The guilt, the silence, the shifting standards, the tears, the jealousy. Different moves, same outcome. You lose control, she gains it. But why do these games work so well? Because every one of them targets the same thing. Your emotional conditioning. Men are taught to protect, to fix, to earn love through effort. Women who play these mind games don't fight that instinct. They use it. They understand that control isn't taken. It's given. So they make you offer it, piece by piece, through empathy, fear, and the endless need to keep the peace. It's not about them being evil. It's about the psychology of power. In every human dynamic, the person least emotionally dependent holds the control. And that's the secret hidden inside all 5 games. They make you the emotional one. They make you the reactor, the fixer, the chaser. Let's strip it down. The emotional blackmail game feeds on your guilt. The silent treatment feeds on your discomfort. The moving goalpost feeds on your need for approval. The victim illusion feeds on your conscience. The insecurity trigger feeds on your ego. All of them use your emotions as currency, traded for obedience. The moment you start reacting, you're already negotiating your value. That's why these games thrive, because you keep responding. You give meaning to manipulation every time you explain, defend, or justify yourself. Here's the shift. You don't need to fight her. You need to see her. Awareness is the antidote. When you recognize the pattern, the spell breaks. Because no one can manipulate you once you understand the mechanism. The real power lies in emotional detachment, not coldness, but composure. When you can sit in silence without fear, when you can watch guilt without absorbing it, when you can hear provocation and remain calm, you've already won. You don't need to dominate her. You don't need to prove anything. The only control worth having is over yourself, because the one who controls his emotions controls the game. Remember this truth. She's not playing against you. She's playing for control of herself, through you. But when you stop reacting, when you refuse to participate, she's left alone with her own reflection. And manipulation can't survive in that silence. Detachment is not weakness. It's the highest form of strength. You don't walk away because you're cold. You walk away because you're clear. You finally see that the real victory isn't winning her back. It's winning yourself back. And that's how the cycle ends. Not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with clarity, with peace, with power that can't be touched. Because once you understand these games, you no longer play by her rules. You write your own. You've just seen how the game is played. 5 mind games, emotional blackmail, silence, shifting standards, victimhood, and insecurity. 5 ways to turn your empathy, your logic, and your loyalty into tools of control. But remember this, awareness is armor. When you can name the game, it stops being a mystery and starts being a choice. Most men don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they don't know they're playing. They think they're fighting for love, when in truth, they're fighting for permission. And the moment you chase validation, you give away the very power that makes you attractive in the first place. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many of these games have you already played without realizing it? How many times have you apologized just to keep the peace, fixed what wasn't broken, or competed for a woman who enjoyed watching you lose balance? You don't need to control her. You just need to control yourself. Because self-control is magnetic. It's the quiet confidence that no game can touch. Let this be the reminder you didn't know you needed. You don't win by playing harder. You win by refusing to play. You don't rise by reacting. You rise by observing. And you don't find peace in chaos. You walk away from it. If this message opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Because somewhere out there, another man is apologizing for a storm he didn't cause. Help him see what you now see. And if you're ready to stop playing defense in your relationships, subscribe. Because here we don't chase love. We study it, we decode it, we control it. The moment you stop chasing peace in chaos, that's when you become untouchable.